See if I know the words. Try and remember. El Clasico. It's a game that we all play. Because it's El Clasico. We are game. There it is, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, why'd you end it so fast, Nick?
He didn't like me singing to El Clasico.
That's not the lyrics, John. They're on the screen.
You could have faded it down.
I couldn't see the screen.
I know I could have, but it's not as funny if I would have, Josh.
Yeah.
It's a comedic thing.
Yeah.
It was a decision I did.
Yeah.
Sad.
Now it's funnier because I'm explaining the joke.
Well, it is El Clasico tomorrow. Iowa State, Iowa. Number 9, number 10. They have never, ever, ever been rated at the same time when they have played. Never.
John, they've never been rated, and they're now both inside the top 10 in the entire country. When we talked to Scott Docterman and Randy Peterson over the summer at various points, Scott, of course, covers Iowa. Randy covers Iowa State. We asked them about this game, and both of them said, oh, yeah, it's going to be the biggest game in the history of the rivalry. And that was when we thought Iowa would be like 15th, and Iowa State would maybe be around 10, and now they're both inside of said top 10. I can't wait.
I think if you would ask most people if I could pick one of the two quarterbacks in this game, you'd get most of them that would take Brock Purdy. Yet Brock Purdy's never beaten Iowa. The Hawkeyes just have that magic kryptonite that has bottled up Iowa State's offensive attack. I think tomorrow you got two of the better running backs in the country. Tyler Goodson, who was coming off a big game against Indiana. Breece Hall, who, is up there with some of the great Iowa State running backs of all time. But whoever can kind of get command of this game, because these games tend to be lower scoring, and you're going to have to establish the run at some point and maybe take a little of the pressure, especially if you're Iowa State, take a little of the pressure off Brock Purdy so that he doesn't feel the need to have to go out and make big plays. Because when he presses, that sometimes gets him into trouble. And so tomorrow, I think I'm going to be watching the run game for these two teams. Iowa State's done a good job of holding Iowa to under 4 yards a carry the last 2 years, but again, they haven't been able to get the W. And then on the other side, Spencer Petras, again, efficient, nothing spectacular.
Well, last week, average, below average, some would say?
Yeah.
That offense did not do a whole lot.
Now, they didn't need to because they had a lot of short fields.
Yeah, but you look at the score and you're like, wow, they must have dominated them. And they certainly did dominate them. But Iowa did not beat Indiana with their offense. They got some great plays on defense early, and after that, they were able to just kind of sit on the ball, and Indiana's offense was unable to do much of anything. Yeah,
the Hawkeye defense, who has been really salty, end of last season into this season. Remember, they've won their last 7 games by an average of over 25 points.
They have been on a tear going back to last season.
And it continued, of course, last week against a really good Indiana team, or what we think is going to be a really good Indiana team. You wonder if last week Iowa State was looking ahead a little bit, but that's tradition. Iowa State has traditionally struggled under Matt Campbell in the opener. Doesn't matter who it's against. And Northern Iowa, in-state rival, they tend to play them tough anyway.
Yeah.
Well, was there a little bit of looking ahead, perhaps?
See, and you think back to this game, the last time that they played each other, of course, was 2 years ago because they didn't play last year. That was a game that Iowa State got tight. Remember the special teams gaff, a player's running into his own player, the ball bounces off, Iowa gets the ball. They outscored Iowa State 9-3 in the fourth quarter to come back from behind and win. They were down 14-9, Iowa was going into that fourth quarter, and they're able to get the victory. As good as I think Matt Campbell, and I know you do as well, as good as we think he is, and as good as we think this program is, this is one of those games that it's like slaying that dragon, man. It's like getting past it. I know that I've made quite a few references lately to The Last Dance, but, rewatching it this summer, him and the Bulls, Michael Jordan and the Bulls having to go through the Pistons to get over the hump and really become what they did. I'm not saying if Iowa State wins tomorrow that off to national championships they go, but this is a program-defining game. and an opportunity. It's like if they can't win this one, which one can they win? We said that with Harbaugh a few times. If he can't beat Ohio State this year, he's never going to beat them. Well, he didn't beat them that year, and suddenly he's never beaten them. I don't think it's that dire for Iowa State, but this is one of those moments that would allow them to get the monkey off their back, a manageable schedule moving forward, and suddenly they're able to play a little freer because they played like a tight football team last week. And you said it a couple minutes ago. That's been a constant for them in some of these early season games. I think this year it was a little more ramped up because of what they knew they had coming tomorrow. But they get past this one, man. There's a lot in front of them that they could take advantage of.
Let's go to the El Assico hotline. Here is Mark. Now, it says here that Mark wants to talk about the Cy-Hawk game. Mark, we're talking about El Assico.
Oh, my. I still got chills from that fight song. I'm sorry, I can't think. But, man, I tell you.
All good.
Let me say this. Deep down inside, I know the Cyclones can do it. But bottom line, and I think you can agree with me, I think it boils down to coaching experience. And Ferentz has it. Now, here's the deal. If we were to play this the last game of the season in these past 5-6 years, I think we could have taken Iowa. But I think it boils down to coaching experience. Tell me if I'm wrong. Go Cyclones and Brock Purdy, man.
All right, Mark. Now, you're not wrong there. At some point, though, if Matt Campbell's going to take the next step, he's got to get past this moment. I know a lot of people, with the preseason top 10 rating, dreaming big, get that first conference title in over 100 years, maybe be a playoff team. But this is the first real thing. That's the beautiful thing about in-state rivalries. Mm-hmm. You got to beat that other team. Mm-hmm. You have to beat that other team. When Nebraska, when they had Oklahoma, it was important to beat Oklahoma because it was for the Big 8. And it was because of Oklahoma, but it had a dual meaning. This game is not going to impact one iota what Iowa State does in the Big 12 race. But you've still got to have it.
It doesn't impact what they do in the Big 12 race in terms of the standings, but
mentally.
Mentally, man.
And so, yeah, and they've been so close. I think it was it Campbell's first or second year? It was a really high-scoring game. They had Iowa on the ropes.
2017, I believe. Yeah.
They had Iowa on the ropes, and they let them off the hook.
Yeah.
And since then, they've been favored before in this game. They're favored again tomorrow.
Favored again.
But this is one of those deals, man. You got to clear this hurdle before people really start to believe that you can clear the next hurdle after that. Even though, again, it does not impact the league standings, there's a part of me that says, I don't see Iowa State getting that next hurdle until they get this one because of how much this game means to them and how important it is.
And I think that's a very fair point because there's like two parts about this, right? The first one is that it's your in-state rival. So getting past that, it's your in-state rival that's owned you pretty well, so getting past that. But also it's a top 10 game. So there's like so much that goes into this. And I think back to over the last few years or last decade, some of those types of games for programs, like I remember an Oregon-Michigan State matchup where it was so vital that Oregon was able to get a victory. I remember some Oregon matchups with SEC schools as they were faltering to them, where they needed to get past them and they were unable to. So, there's a lot on the line, even though in the technical standings of the Big 12, there's nothing on the line.
Here is Derek. Derek, what are your thoughts on El Assico?
Yeah, a big Cyclone fan myself, but if I were to bet this game, which maybe I did, I would take Iowa plus 4.5. But I think they're usually pretty close games. I just think that Iowa State needs to play a little looser. I mean, watching the game last week they played so tight. And when they play loose, like they played against Oklahoma and Texas and some, Oregon last year, when they play loose and Purdy's free to roam around and do as he pleases, I think they're a top 5 team. But when they're restricted by the conservative play calling and, the 2-3 yard runs here and there, it really bogs the offense down. And I think we'll be able to tell really early on who's going to win the game.
Derek, appreciate the thoughts. Yeah, that spread, it's hard for me, and I know we'll have it coming up in predictions. I think Iowa State can win. I don't know if I can see them winning I think it's going to go right down to the wire like it usually does. In this
a
game.
5-point win is still down to the wire.
That is true. No, that is true.
You could be trailing and still win by 5 with a last-second score.
True. Or you could settle for a field goal, and then it allows the other team who has a Hall of Fame quarterback to go down the field and get a field goal and win the
Spencer Petras, Hall of Fame quarterback. Bold
game.
statement.
Oh, I thought you were talking about last night's game. I'm sorry.
No, I don't ever want to talk about that again.
Coming up next, Josh is going to drown his sorrows in One Beer Friday.
Yes.
Coming up on 1620 The Zone. John Bishop for Radon Defense Midwest. Did you know that radon is the #1 cause of lung cancer in non-smokers? And unfortunately, it is quite commonplace in homes all across the Midwest. Nebraska and Iowa are two of the highest concentrated states for radon because radon is the breakdown of uranium in the soil, and it creates a radon gas, which is undetectable for humans. But knowing your level, what's your level, is such an important question that you need to have answered, and you can do so by visiting radonradio.com. You can save $75 off a professional radon test. The whole procedure is very simple. The professionals at Radon Defense Midwest will leave a small device in your home. It will check your radon levels, your air quality levels, and then they can go through all the results with you in a couple of days. And there are different ways to mitigate radon in your home. It could be evacuation, filtration, ventilation, all of them very affordable. They have financing plans available as well to match what you need for your home. So keep yourself and your family safe and know your level with the fully licensed professional techs of Radon Defense Midwest. Save $75 off a professional radon test right now by visiting radonradio.com.